Hey, welcome back to another episode of Addicted to Gear. Thank you for joining me once again. Today we're talking about Gibson once again. Poor Gibson. I don't know what's going on, but we all know that Gibson is not in a good place. They're over $500 million in debt. They've had quality control issues in the past. Their CEO has made some weird decisions where they're focusing on consumer electronics that have basically flopped. They're coming out with products and add-ons to products that people don't want. And they're not really focusing on what people do want, and that's a good quality instrument made by Gibson with good quality control at an affordable price. It seems like that would be an easy thing for them to offer, but it turns out that it isn't. So the latest news that's got a lot of people holding their breath is that Gibson has not yet signed up for the NAMM show this year. And that is huge news. The NAMM show is pretty much the biggest trade show event for companies producing musical instruments. Everyone's there. Fender's there, Gibson is usually there, Ibanez, Charvel, you name it. This is a big event. It costs companies a lot of money to attend to this show, and it basically shows that the company is doing well, is coming out with new products, so on and so forth. So for Gibson to sit this one out is a pretty telling sign that they're not doing well. Now, word on the street is that Gibson has chosen to overlook the NAMM show this year and to opt to attend the CES show in Las Vegas instead. Now that's kind of a head scratcher. The CES show is a consumer electronics show. Now, if Gibson is focusing their attention on consumer electronics instead of guitars, that is big news. That basically tells me that Gibson has decided that, their bread and butter, which has been building guitars for the last 100 years, is no longer worthwhile for them to invest time and energy in. That is very strange, considering, as I said, that everything that they've touched in the past has flopped when it comes to consumer electronics. They bought the company Onkyo, which was very strong in the 80s and had some very good products back then. And ever since then, they just basically fizzled out. We haven't heard much from them. They bought the company Cubase, which is a software company, and Gibson recently announced that they will no longer be producing the software. And that pissed a lot of people off that were using the software. They've upped the prices on their guitars numerous times when they're already very expensive, and that pissed off a lot of people as well. So it seems to me like this is yet another decision that Gibson is making and going up the wrong road that will eventually lead them to, a dead end, and they're going to hit the wall, and that'll be the end of that. Now, I hope that doesn't happen. I like Gibson as a brand. I own some Gibson guitars as well. But look, I also own PRS guitars. And for me, yes, Gibson guitars are expensive, so are PRS guitars. But at least I know that if I spend the money on a PRS guitar, the quality control will be there. I can't really say the same for Gibson. Can you buy a Gibson that's made overseas and have no issues? Maybe you can, but I know that PRS will allow me to get what I want at a reasonable price, and I won't have any issues with their guitars. So will that hole left in the NAMM show mean that eventually someone else will take over? Will it mean that that hole will open the doors for some other brands to come in? Maybe like the microbreweries compared to the big beer companies. If somebody comes in that's offering a good quality product where they've taken the time to make sure attention was taken for all the minor details, and they're offering you a good quality instrument at a reasonable price, maybe that'll be enough for people to say, you know what, we're tired of waiting for Gibson to get their shit together, and we'll just buy something else instead. I would hate to see that happen, because it would mean that a lot of people will end up losing their job at the company, but maybe that's what will eventually happen. Who knows? We have to be ready for that reality. The other flip side of the coin is that maybe somebody will come in by the Gibson brand that is focused on making good quality instruments and maybe put that brand back on track again. Only time will tell, guys, but it's just, you know, it's just odd, and it is extremely big news that they're choosing not to attend this event. So we don't know which way it'll go, but we have to wait and see, and hopefully it'll be something positive at the end of all this that will ultimately see us enjoying the Gibson brand once again. Now, you know, it's a given that the guitar industry is a difficult industry. There's a lot of competition out there. Let's face it, the kids these days are not swooping up guitars. You know, they're focused on their phones, their mobile devices. You could hardly get a teenager to take their eyes off their phone long enough to even see where they're walking. Never mind put a guitar in their hands and make them practice 4 hours a day. That just won't happen. The newer generation is focused on music that's been largely produced on computers, where you don't necessarily even need to play an instrument, as long as you can, you know, program a loop or, you know, sample something. Look, it's not the same as it was. So we have to be prepared for that aspect. It's just not as cool to be playing a guitar as it once was. The new generation doesn't have an iconic person like Eddie Van Halen or Jimmy Page or Jimi Hendrix or David Gilmour to look up to. Today, the guitar has been kind of pushed to the side, and the electronic aspects of the music has kind of led the way. So will it make a comeback? I hope it will. To me, guitars are the greatest thing in the world, and I would hate to see them go the way of the dinosaur. But look, times do change. So that's it for today, guys. I didn't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I did want to give you this update in case you weren't aware of what was going on. And only time will tell where the road will lead for Gibson, be it good or bad news. So in the meantime, guys, thank you for watching. I hope that you got something out of this video. If you have any comments regarding the Gibson fiasco situation, leave your comments below. If you'd like to hear more news about Gibson when it's available, let me know, and I'll gladly share that with you. In the meantime, guys, give me some thumbs up if you appreciate this video. Stay tuned, because there'll be more great stuff coming your way. If you haven't already subscribed, please don't forget to subscribe. See you soon.